Reports in the U.S. media say President Trump's administration is seeking approval from lawmakers in Congress to sell Israel around $6 billion worth of military equipment. The planned package is reported to include 30 Apache attack helicopters at the cost of $3.6 billion, nearly doubling Israel's current stocks. The sale also includes 3,200 assault vehicles for the Israeli Defense Forces with a price tag of $1.9 billion. The reported deal comes ahead of the annual United Nations General Assembly next week, where the situation in Gaza is high on the agenda. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on the international community to end the fighting. What we are witnessing in Gaza is horrendous. It is the worst level of death and destruction that I've seen in my time as Secretary General, probably in my life. Meanwhile, Israel says it will operate with what it called unprecedented force in its continuing assault on Gaza City. The Israeli military has urged the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians still believed to be in the area to move further south, saying around 480,000 Gans had moved in that direction since late August. Palestinian media reports said the Israeli military blew up a number of explosive-laden vehicles in one neighborhood of Gaza City as it continues to demolish homes and buildings. Meanwhile, residents who have moved south to what Israel calls a humanitarian area in Al-Masih in the city of Harunis say they are struggling to find food and shelter. These people describe what they've experienced. We escaped the bombardment. You see how death is everywhere. Our lives have become extremely difficult. There's no tents, no water, and no food. We are living on the street. We don't know where to go anymore. What we went through was daunting. The hunger, the lack of food, of money and work. Death follows us everywhere, bombing wherever we turn. When we went back north, we stayed for a month, and then they bombed us, so we escaped. We're extremely burned out and tired of displacement. Old days on the road. We went all over Gaza. We don't have the money to rent or money to eat. Hunger is killing us. We have nothing. Well, let's talk to Stephen, who is professor of politics and director of Middle East Studies at the University of San Francisco. Thank you very much for joining us on BBC News. Can I ask you, first of all, what you make of these reports that the Trump administration is seeking Congress to approve the sale to Israel of around $6 billion worth of military equipment? It's something that the Trump administration has done before, and the Biden administration before that, asking for additional arms transfers on top of the $3.3 billion annual military aid and the $17 billion of supplemental military aid that has gone to Israel since the start of the war nearly 2 years ago. It is certainly controversial with the American people. Close to 2/3 of Americans, according to public opinion polls, oppose additional military aid to Israel. But the leadership of both the Republicans and the Democrats in Congress seem to be supporting it. And though there will be some left-wing Democrats who will probably be voting against it, it looks very unlikely that Congress will exercise its authority to block the sale. And of course, this comes as the Israelis are carrying out that massive operation in Gaza City on that. Do you think that operation will have any impact on Hamas to free the hostages, which is what Israel says is the reason they are doing that operation? Hamas agreed to free the hostages back in January as part of the second phase of the ceasefire agreement, that in return for Israel releasing some Palestinian prisoners, with withdrawing its forces and agreeing to a permanent ceasefire, that Hamas would indeed release all the hostages. And the fact that Israel broke that deal and has rejoined the war is why you're seeing so many Israelis on the streets protesting right now, because they recognize that the hostages' lives being put into jeopardy by this new military operation. So there's serious doubts within Israel and elsewhere whether this offensive on Gaza City is really about freeing the hostages at all. If we look ahead, the UN General Assembly is coming up, and of course Gaza is going to be high on the agenda. a lot of European nations, some of them say they may recognize a Palestinian state as part of the UN General Assembly. Do you think that diplomatic pressure is going to have any impact at all? Well, as long as the United States continues to provide the military, diplomatic, and financial support for Israel's war effort, it's very unlikely that these diplomatic initiatives will go very far. Just yesterday, the United States, for the sixth time, vetoed an otherwise unanimous UN Security Council resolution addressing the conflict in Gaza. But at the same time, when you do have a growing consensus in the international community, including from countries, like Britain, like France, like other European countries who've traditionally been supportive of Israel, that it does, overall, it does send a message that Israel has gone too far in terms of its violation of international humanitarian law, and that we are talking about humanitarian crisis of enormous proportions that Israel is largely responsible for. And I think because of that, we're going to see increasing efforts by global civil society, by other governments to pressure. But again, it may not be enough if they know they have the essentially an umbrella protecting them. Israel has this unconditional support from Washington, the most influential country in the world. Still, Stephen Ziens, thank you very much for your time here on BBC News. My pleasure.